Hello, everybody, and welcome to Top 5 New Comics for October 2nd of 2024. I'm, as always, Chris. You may have noticed no video last week. I apologize for that. If you are subscribed to my Substack, you know why. But the short version is I had to do stuff for the real world last week. Some classes for my day job, my career, and had to make business decisions in that sense. So didn't get to do any writing, didn't get to do much on videos, still was able to put out podcasts because I was able to sneak away time to do those. But that is done and I am back in action. So let's jump right into this week's top 5, a very DC-centric top 5. Starting with Absolute Power number 4. This is written by Mark Waid with art by Dan Mora. So big finale of Absolute Power. We get to finally see how it all concludes. I really enjoyed this event series as a whole. If you followed me for a while, you know that I'm a sucker for a good event. I think event comics are one of those things in the comic book industry that's just something special, bringing everyone together, telling this big story that not only culminates things from the past however long, but also opens up things for the future, which we'll talk about soon. And with this one, it's been a lot of fun. I think it could have stood to be longer, which is actually a criticism I don't do much. Normally, I think that things could be tightened up and be a little bit shorter. This one, I think, could have gone for like a 6-issue series or something like that. That aside, the art's been phenomenal. It's been a really cool story arc. And I'm really curious, interested to see how all the DC superheroes get their powers back at the end of the day, and where everybody's left off at the end of this, how it ties into the Absolute universe, and how it ties into our next book, which we might as well get into now, which is DC All-In Special number 1. This is written by Scott Snyder and Joshua Williamson, with art by Daniel Smapere and Dan Mora, with colors by Tamra Bonvillain, Alejandro Sanchez, and letters by Steve Wands. I've said this about DC for a while. Not only is this the starting point of the new/old DC logo, which I'm just so happy about, but the thing I've said for a while about DC is they do these soft reboots every so often, every 2-3 years, and it all started when they did the New 52 reboot that I know a lot of longtime fans of DC weren't big on. As somebody who jumped in during that time to the DC universe as a whole, and really fell in love with these characters to it, I think that the New 52 is one of the best things DC's done in a long time. And I know because so many creators that I know and people around comics around my age really started to fall in love with DC around this time. And since then, they've done these like soft reboots with DC Rebirth and all these other ones. Now we're going with DC All In. And what's cool about it is it gets you re-excited, at least it gets me re-excited for DC. While storylines can sometimes get long in the tooth and you can become, for lack of a better word, bored with what's going on and the overall stories, this gives them a chance to kind of refresh, reframe, do something new with it, and really change the course of the universe as a whole. And that's exactly what this is. And they always started with some special like this. So these specials are always exciting to me because it sets the groundwork for all of that. Now, with this one in particular, there's a few things I want everyone to notice with it. First, Scott Snyder is back at DC for the first time since leaving after he did the Justice League run. And Scott was one of those guys that at the beginning of the DC New 52, I really fell in love with. His Batman run is one of my favorites. His Justice League run was okay, but he had some really great moments in there. But he's somebody that since then I've just followed through and through throughout his career. And now he's back for this, specifically the Absolute universe, which hopefully I think we're getting to in the next couple of weeks. But I'm really excited for that as DC's alternative to what Marvel's doing with the Ultimate Universe, and doing something new and different, reimagining these characters, rebuilding them, reworking them, making them new in some way. And then on the flip side, Joshua Williamson's still kind of at the top of DC's overall world-building storyline making, is dealing with the main DC universe, and you can tell by this cover, there's a few interesting characters here. Two I really want to point out, which is Darkseid, of course. Darkseid is involved somehow. He's back. It's really great to have a character like him back. We all love Darkseid. He's just the ultimate bad guy for DC. He's their Actually, Thanos is their dark side, but we'll play that how it is. It's like a Thanos level threat. The other one that's really interesting to me is front and center, right behind Superman, we can see Booster Gold, which is a character we don't see that often in DC Comics anymore, and a very beloved character. So I'm really interested to see what he has to do with everything going on. And it just sets up all these great things that they've announced and they're doing. A new, Justice League's coming back, and how it's going to affect all the books moving forward, how solo series are going to go. There's just a lot here to be introduced, and a lot that I'm excited for with this. So I just would say, if you don't read DC, this is probably a great starting point. This will give you a good idea of what their plans are for the next 2, maybe 3 years, and what the events will look like moving up to there, and how all that kind of culminates. So DC All-In Special is definitely a must-buy this week. After that, we got Batman number 153. This is written by Chip Zdarsky with art by Jorge Jimenez, colors by Tomeu Morey, and edited by Levin. Ever since Chip took over Batman, I really enjoyed it. When it's Chip doing Batman, when he steers away from the main story that he was telling, was kind of when he fell apart in my eyes. The books aren't bad in those instances, but they don't reach the greatness that was the fail-safe stuff and just everything he was doing inside of Batman. And now we've got Batman being kind of one of the first books in the all-in, sorry, this isn't Marvel, the all-in DC. And it's really our first glimpse to see what all-in is in terms of the individual books and how they see these characters moving forward. So not only is it just a returning creative team that I really trust and really love, but also it's that refresh, rebrand with all-in that DC's doing. And we're just coming off of Batman being a side book to Absolute Power, which was fun and interesting, and I enjoyed it. But once again, did not hit the highs of things like Zur-En-Arrh, Failsafe, that Chip was doing prior. So really interested to see where he goes from here and what new villains he brings in. I read Riddler is one of them. There's some other characters showing up. It's just exciting all around in the world of DC. And this is outside of big events or big specials, this is the book that I'll be looking forward to the most. And it's funny to me because I do these lists and I put them in a specific order every time, not based on what I'm most looking forward to, what I'm least looking forward to, but usually based on publishers and things like that. In this case, we have 3 DC books in a row, and this will be the order I read them in come Wednesday night. I can promise you that. After that, I've got Plastic Man No More number 2. This is written by Christopher Cantwell with art by Jacob Edgar and Alex Lins. So we got that first issue of Plastic Man No More. And not only was it really great to see the different art styles that they used inside the book and how they used them, the story that was told here of Plastic Man being kind of a joke and kind of an afterthought by most of the DC universe, but then how the real world happens in Plastic Man's eyes. So all in all, I think Christopher Cantwell did an amazing job with this book. He just blew it out of the park with this story, telling a story of a plastic man who's on his way out and on his deathbed and really looking for not a way to save himself, but a way to save somebody he cares about more than himself because of what's happening to him. Not only is it a deep story, not only is it a touching story, but you still get those moments where you flash back to, or you flash into moments of Plastic Man being with the Justice League or the DC characters, and it goes kind of cartoony in its art style, which is a great transition from how the main story is told to these moments with other characters and how he's kind of perceived by the rest of the DC universe. And it's also a meta narrative of how we as the reader see Plastic Man. So all in all, it was a great first issue. I really can't recommend it enough, and I'm just so looking forward to issue 2. And we're going to end with Hyde Street number 1. This is written by Jeff Johns with art by Ivan Reis, inks by Dan Meeke, colors by Brad Anderson, and letters by Rob Lee. So kind of funny because while this is an Image title, there's a lot of DC creators here. So it's a very DC-centric week this week for me, which, being a huge Marvel fan, is not the norm for me. But I do love when there's big competition between the two and they can both put out books that I'm really excited for. Pushing that aside, we've got two of the creators at DC who I really enjoy. Jeff Johns, who was one of the architects of that New 52 and one of the guys that really helped build up DC to what it is today, and a guy whose work I've enjoyed in the past. I've had criticism of more modern stuff. And then Ivan Reis, who is an artist at DC, who since I first saw him, I fell in love with. And he was the artist behind the Aquaman series that they did together, among others that they've done throughout the years. Ivan Reis is one of those guys that I adore. So that's really what brings me into Hyde Street. So for those that don't know, this is Ghost Machine's latest new #1 comic book series, and it centers around this place, Hyde Street, and deals with some horror-esque stories that also kind of get into meta narratives with comics, like the old ads for things like X-Ray, Specs, and Becoming the World's Strongest Man. These outrageous ads they used to get back in the day before, I'm sure, most of our times. And while I'm not the biggest horror guy, I have a lot of trust in what Ghost Machine's doing right now, specifically what Jeff Johns is doing with Ghost Machine. The books he's been putting out there have been some of the best he's done in a long, long time. And he's lucky enough to have had this great career and no great talent, and get guys like Ivan Reis to come along with him and do these books. So for me, while I may not be the biggest horror fan, I'm always down for a good horror book if it's done good. And I'm really hoping that these guys together can make something special alongside all the other stuff they've been doing over at Ghost Machine. So everybody, thank you so much for watching this week. Remember, if you want to support me, the best ways to do it are on this video. You can like, subscribe, share, comment down below. That's really the best way. Let me know what books you're looking forward to, what isn't on my top 5 that you're looking forward to, what on my top 5 you're really looking forward to. And you can also follow me online at Fortress Chris, pretty much any social media network you can think of, including X, Instagram, Blue Sky, whatever it is. I'm probably there talking about comics. And there's also my Substack, which is chriscomicscorner.substack.com. So if you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all here next week.